What's up, Leroy?
What's happening? It's amazing how you guys are picking apart stats when the most important one is 17-1, and the fact that they can go deep and have a bunch of different guys score every night is what makes this team really good. I mean, the last couple of years, if a couple of guys didn't get their numbers, you lost.
Yeah.
And now you have a couple guys. So when other guys, when some of the other guys come in and get some of those numbers, that's a good thing, because now you don't have to rely on the numbers that everybody got last year.
And your starters are getting rest.
Right. Because they also, keep in mind, they also have the fewest minutes of any starters in the league.
Right. And not that it's fool's gold, because I don't think it is. I think their record is, you are what your record says you are. But Dustin said that a little bit earlier, he said that, by the metric that measures strength of schedule, that they've had the easiest schedule, or one of the easiest schedules so far in the NBA, which I kind of
everybody will hit that rut.
Monday.
You'll hit that rut. You play 82 games. You're going to hit a week and a half where you can't hit the broadside of a barn. It happens to every team. So, it's coming, but hopefully they can get through it and get back to where they are now. That's it.
I want to ask you a question about running backs, because I know you studied this very closely.
Hold on, Leroy.
He's got to give us a dissertation here. This is Michigan week.
Remember what I told you
about
that? I'm gonna look at Jameis and I'm gonna give him 3 weeks.
Right.
Here's what his numbers are after 4 weeks.
Right.
So it plays Steelers, Saints, Chargers, Ravens. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but they beat the Steelers and the Ravens and lost to the Chargers and the Saints.
Chargers are a good team.
That's not even the point. The Steelers and the Ravens, teams that talk about winning championships, we go and play the best football we played all year. So the averages are 63%, 295 a game, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks, and quarterback rating 87.1.
Are those numbers right? I thought it was 7 touchdowns, 3 picks.
1, 2, 3. Well, that's maybe I'm only including Steelers, Saints, Chargers.
He had an extra touchdown.
He had a touchdown in the game where he came in to finish.
Right. So I didn't include the numbers for that game.
So he's 7-4, I think, for the season.
Yeah, 7-4. So that's his numbers.
Yeah.
That's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Okay? I cannot explain this, and I wasn't on last week. And I'm going to say these numbers to you, and I'm still trying to figure out how in the hell is this possible. 65% completion percentage, 395 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, and a 106.7 rating, and you lose by 20.
Yeah, 21. Right? We scratched our head too, Leroy. There is no explanation.
I cannot. And so, it's you don't throw for 400 with no picks
and scored 14 points.
It scored 14 points. It's crazy. So there's some other things that are going in, but as far as can he be the starter for this team? Yes, because he's driving the ball down the field. He's not absolutely going on one of those interception binges, which, he's actually 7-4 is not terrible.
Right.
And you can live with that. But when you look at all your other options of what you had the last couple of years when Deshaun wasn't here, I mean, Joe Flacco was 13 touchdowns, 8 picks when it was all said and done.
Which ironically is almost the same ratio as Jameis Winston.
Correct.
But the distinction is he was throwing for less than half of the yards per game. That's the difference.
Correct.
Who was Joe Flacco?
No,
Joe Flacco.
We're talking about Deshaun Watson. He was.
No,
you said Flacco.
Right. Flacco. And see, and that's the problem, is that when Deshaun Watson was in there, you're throwing for 170.
Yeah.
So any quarterback that pushes the ball down the field is going to look like the greatest thing in the world. And that's what we thought about Flacco last year, but he was 13-8.
Oh, Flacco was 13-8. What
13
is
touchdowns, 8 picks.
Deshaun Watson's touchdown to interception ratio for his 17 games played here?
Oh,
I
would.
hold on.
No, I'm asking Mike.
I would guess he's got to be damn near 1-to-1.
He didn't throw a lot of picks.
No, I think it's 19-13. Yeah, 19.
Okay, so it's
19-13.
worse. 19-13, so it's worse than Jameis's ratio. And again, he's throwing for
and here's
half
the thing.
yardage.
Half the yardage and at a lesser percentage.
Right, yeah, you're right.
So that's the thing.
Do we know, Mikey, if you extrapolated Jameis Winston's numbers out from these first 4 games and extrapolated it out through the rest of the 16, 17 games?
We did that Monday, remember?
What would his numbers be?
He had 5,000 yards passing.
I'll tell you one sec.
We did that Monday. Remember, a fan did that for us.
295 a game.
Yeah, times 17.
Yeah, but what does that matter?
At 295 a game, you're leading the league.
We're trying to figure out what he would be for a whole season.
Yeah, but there's
like you case 1,200 yards passing.
You got to play the season. Like there's a lot of guys that for 3-4 weeks put up good numbers and can't sustain it.
Of course.
So
but the only way to project it is to use the averages. That's it.
What's the point of projecting?
We do that all the time. What do you mean? What's the point of projecting? We just did an entire segment based on projecting stats.
But we've already discussed. We know his numbers are good. What the exact numbers would be. What does that matter?
Of course, it's hypothetical, but it's all we have.
Bull, the only reason why we're having this conversation is because I was asked, how many weeks before you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And you remember that was a couple of weeks ago.
And now you're saying you know.
3 more weeks.
Yeah, he's.
And I'm like, this is, and this is not for whatever reason. I'm making this statement, and it's not to whoever else has played quarterback for the Browns. This is the best quarterbacking that consistent quarterbacking for a month this team has had.
Since Joe Flacco.
Right. Through injury or whatever.
Since Joe Flacco. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was only last year.
But Joe Flacco wasn't better.
No,
Joe Flacco
was pretty
wasn't
much
better.
the same guy. Leroy, his 13-8 touchdown to interception ratio is almost exactly what, because if you extrapolate it out, it's 14-8 for Jameis instead of 13-8 if you double his current numbers.
Right.
But the yards
judging it that way is flawed, by the way.
Of course it is, but I mean, it's apples. It's all we have.
Yeah,
that's all we have at this moment.
One point that you made, Leroy, that I think is worth pouncing on is when you look at the teams that he's done this against. And again, the Saints team outcome is, I can't explain it.
Crazy.
I just can't. But he's beaten two teams that are in the midst of the playoff hunt, and his other loss was to a team that is also in the playoff hunt. So he's not doing this against schlubs. He did it against pretty good defenses.
He's done it against one very good defense.
You don't think the Ravens are good?
No, the defense is horrible.
I don't think it's horrible. I don't. I think their defense.
I mean,
is
it
pretty
is
damn
horrible.
good.
You may not think it is, but it is.
Statistically,
Well, it's not as good as it's been. Let's do that.
No, I'm not.
It's been one of the worst in the league. They've been terrible.
Where are they in team defense? If
You don't want to know the answer to that, Jay.
No, I do. Because to my eye test, I think they're pretty good.
what are they, 29?
No, your eye test sucks.
Maybe it does. That's why I'm asking this question.
In scoring
There you go.
defense, they
There
rank.
you go.
In scoring defense, 23rd. And in yards, I'll just do total yardage. They rank 31st.
And as bad as that is, I think it's a bad statistic. But
Yeah, I hate that stat.
No,
whatever.
but 31st is which shocks me.
Yeah, they've been terrible.
Yeah, but 23rd in total defense, I look at that more than yards.
I don't look at none of that. If you on the schedule, I'm trying to beat you. I don't care if you bad, good, or whatever.
And they're the Ravens.
And I'm going to put these
Let's face
numbers
it,
up.
They're the Ravens.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Their record is pretty damn
not
good.
gonna-
If here's the bottom line, Jameis has played very well through 4 games. I'm not hearing this propaganda that he's done it against great defenses. He did it against one great defense, but it doesn't matter. He's played well. Yes, he's having a discussion with anybody in Deshaun Watson is pointless now. Deshaun Watson is the worst quarterback in football.
Yes.
There's no point in comparing him to anybody else. So Jameis, right now he's the best option, and maybe he's the best option for next year. He might be.
Right. That's the point. Yeah. That's where we were getting to. Like, is it worth it? You know what's amazing? and I feel bad for doing this,
Uh-oh.
is that we're talking about a guy you gave $230 million to, and we're comparing the two quarterbacks that replaced him. We're not even talking about him.
At a grand total of $8 million for two of them.
Right. Yeah,
And
right.
they've
And-
more
and
than doubled the output of the guy that
Here's
they're paying
the-
$230 to.
Here's and I don't know how, the way I live with it is I say sometimes you make good decisions that turn out bad. And you got to be able to accept that. And the next time a situation like it presents itself, you go after it again.
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
that's what sports
That's
is.
one way to kind of categorize this. A good
And
decision
so
bad.
at the
That's
time,
how I would characterize it.
at the time, it was a good decision. Because everybody saw Deshaun Watson as a guy that could come in and get back to what he was. It didn't work out.
Let me ask
It
you a question,
happens.
Leroy, about the league globally.
Yeah.
I've made this argument for the last probably 2 seasons that we're kind of that things are shifting away from the wide open air attack that we had. That I think the apex of it was that Bills-Chiefs game where they were like a pinball machine.
Right.
Now I'm seeing run games having a distinct teams with run games have a distinct advantage. I'll point to the Eagles, who had a great team last year but came unraveled. They added the best available running back, and they now, to me, look like a team that's on a Super Bowl express. He had 255. Would you agree that the value of the running back, the worth of the running back, is coming back to the NFL?
Here's the problem with the NFL. And I'm going to tell you, all these people that run all these front offices and stuff, they're two-faced, right? And here's why. They come here and talk about controlling the line of scrimmage, and we're going to build this team from the inside out, and then say we can have anybody playing running back. Well,
Yeah,
that
can't
don't
have
fit
both.
what you're saying. Now, you look at the success that all of these teams have had. Now, there have been some exceptions in the Super Bowl. So please stop and don't hit me up and try to send numbers to me and whatever. But the teams that have competed for Super Bowls year after year, or the teams that are there competing for a Super Bowl, have been able to run the ball in some capacity.
Well, but hold on, Leroy. The reality is there's not been a great running back on a team that's won a Super Bowl in as long as I can remember. Who's the last great running back to win a Super Bowl?
No, I don't think he's saying that. I don't think he's saying
I'm not
that they've
saying
been
that.
run driven.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
saying
not
that.
saying- I'm saying
to
that
completely
when it
dismiss
gets-
it, do it at your own peril. You have
Nobody's
to be able to run the ball at some point.
Nobody's
Yes, they
completely
have.
dismissing it. That's a
Yes, they have.
misnomer. It's not being completely.
No. That's not
Yes.
bull. That's not true.
Yes, it
every
is.
front office, the last few years said we can just get anybody in the third or
Well,
fourth round.
but
and
you just argued that when I said no teams had a great running back that's won a Super Bowl, you said, well, it's not about the running back. It's about the running game. And now you're arguing that, they don't care about top running backs. So what is it? Because not a single great running back in the NFL, all the best guys have not won any Super Bowls. None. Give me one guy.
Okay, then
That's
here,
playing.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
When we get to the playoffs, I'll take my chances with the team that runs the ball the best.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. just
And
because
let me
of
tell you
travel.
why. Let me tell you why. Because you know what you can't control in December and January? The damn weather.
Well, the teams that have won the majority of the Super Bowls are the Patriots and Chiefs, and those teams weren't
And
necessarily
go
the
look
teams
at
that ran the ball the best.
and every year,
Yeah.
every year after the Super Bowl, there were questions on whether the running back should have got the MVP.
Interesting. Really?
Go look.
Well, you know what? Here's
Yeah, but
something
none of
that-
those guys were highly paid. So you guys are saying, well, you got to take care of the running back. You got to pay the running back. Well, if you pay the running back, you don't win.
Well, here's teams that this is
I'm not saying
fascinating.
every
I came
running
across this
back is
yesterday.
Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry.
Well, that's my
I'm not
point.
saying that.
So listen to this stat, which really blew me away. The Giants let Saquon Barkley get away. The Titans let Derrick
This
Henry
is
get
a
away.
joke, this tweet.
No,
I
it's
saw
not.
this tweet.
It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Okay,
The
it is
Raiders
100% a joke,
let
but go
Josh
ahead.
Jacobs leave.
Yeah, how good were those teams with them, Jay, last year?
Those three teams
so
are a combined
argumentative today?
7 and
Thanksgiving.
26.
How good
Those three running backs this year are a combined 24 and 9.
That is absurd, Jay.
But, Bull,
no,
it's
here's
not,
a fact.
and
here's
here's
a fact.
why.
Can I give you a fact?
Give me a fact.
All three of those teams
Yes.
that lost the running backs were terrible last
I
year.
know they were. So,
and all three of those teams that got the running backs were good last
see,
year.
you're helping
So
me
that's
make my
misleading.
point. You're helping me make my point.
Yeah.
Because those three players
Yeah.
went to teams and made their teams better. It's not about be good or bad. You're not in it to be good.
The
Remember,
Ravens
you're
were
in
the
it to
best
win a
team in
Super
football
Bowl.
in the regular season last year. How
Who
are they
were-
better?
So you don't believe?
Wait, who was the best team?
The Ravens were the best team in the regular season last year.
Just
You
talk
don't-
louder.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You don't believe that the Ravens are a better team with Derrick Henry?
Of course they are.
I agree.
That's all we saying.
and the Eagles are a better team with
With
Saquon Barkley.
That's all we saying.
But
Also, you're forgetting those guys are probably a little bit peeved that the teams they were on didn't want them.
Yeah, but see, I always laugh
But
at
Jay,
that as
you're making it
motivation.
seem as if
I
there's
think
a
it is.
cause
So you
and
try
effect.
harder then?
You're
No, I
you're
think
making it seem like there's a win-loss cause and effect by that ridiculous stat. It's not.
No,
those
Bull.
teams were good last year.
What I'm making the causal effect
Yeah,
to is
yeah.
the teams that I mentioned that got these players are better.
They were all good. No, the Ravens are not.
Are the Eagles better?
The Ravens can't. Are the Eagles better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, but we'll see
Here.
what they do. In the Eagles
I agree.
fell
We'll see
apart
what
at
they
the
do
end
in
of
the
last year.
What
Leroy-
Leroy is saying.
let me tell you how this is going to be different.
Yeah.
Okay? Because in January, when they hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and not put Lamar Jackson in harm's way,
That's right.
you will see the difference.
I
They
will
can
see.
still run the
Okay.
ball without
And
risking their injury
so
to
We'll see.
quarterback.
when one of the things about Green Bay was they got rid of a really good running back.
They did.
Because they could get a better one. When you look at what the Eagles, instead of having the RPO with the damn quarterback every other play, now they have a running back that makes that RPO even.
I mean, the
that
Eagles did
much
go to the
more
Super Bowl
devastating.
2 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, with
No, it was more than 2 years ago.
No,
It was like 5 years ago.
the Eagles.
No, we watched it at your house.
just
It was
lost
the Eagles.
Oh yeah. No, I'm thinking about the one they won.
Leroy, I
Thinking about that,
Leroy, I guess,
Yeah,
I guess
Patriots.
my frustration comes from this. Football is the ultimate team sport, and year after year we get to the place now where we've diminished every other position outside of quarterback, to a point where it's like it's either franchise quarterback or you're not good, and you gotta until he starts getting sacked, and then you look at the offensive line. Until he can't throw the ball downfield because he don't have a running game. Until he don't have defensive linemen to keep people to get after the other quarterback. And then we'll look at it and say, well,
So when's the last time a team won a Super Bowl with bad quarterback play?
what I'm telling you,
Give me an example.
Bad quarterback play is different. I think Nick Foles wasn't a
I
great
was gonna say Nick
quarterback.
Foles.
What I'm saying to you is, when you talk about good quarterback play,
Yeah.
there's other facets of your game that contribute to good quarterback
Well, like Kansas
play.
City last year, their defense had a lot to do with it last year.
Pacheco, the emergence of Pacheco is huge for the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's cute, but they don't win the Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. End of conversation.
Patrick Mahomes is the only guy that you can have that conversation about.
Okay, go ahead. Leroy.
Do you think Kansas City is the best team in the NFL?
No, but I didn't
now.
think they were the best team in the NFL last year either, and they won.
Right. Because they actually, it's crazy
Right.
because we put this moniker on a person,
Yeah.
and no matter what, he gets all the acclaim for winning.
Right.
And Patrick Mahomes is having one of his worst years as a pro.
His worst.
Yes, and so like there's got to be other people on that team to be able to make up for that. Now he's going to be what we like about Patrick Mahomes is when it gets to that critical moment in time, you believe he can make a play. That's it. But here's what I would say to all these people who think quarterback is the key to winning. You think Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback?
Yes.
Why? Because and I'm coming. This is coming from firsthand experience, and let me tell you why it's coming from firsthand experience. Because I watched 2 years of Tua with Brian Flores.
Right.
And everybody down here said he was the worst quarterback. How could they waste? Why didn't they take Justin Herbert? He is terrible. He's this, he's that.
Mm-hmm.
They switch coaches, and then all of a sudden he's this. Don't dismiss what an organization does to a player.
That's fair.
Don't dismiss it.
Especially
okay?
quarterback.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
We all thought Sam Darnold sucked.
Yeah.
Right?
Well.
Then why can't he be leading a team that's damn near first in the division? Why? All of a sudden they believe he can play?
Yeah, what I would say to that, Leroy, and you're right, and we'll see what Sam Darnold does when we get to the playoffs and going forward. You may be right.
No, don't do that. Don't change don't move the bar. Yeah, everybody said he sucked, and now he's playing on the team.
And you're right. Okay, fine. I won't move the bar.
Let's get to the playoffs.
Fine. I won't move the bar. He's played very well to this point in the season. But for every Sam Darnold, I could give you 10 guys who sucked and then never got better, right?
Carson Wentz.
I give you a lot of guys.
And you know what? And I would say to you, how much of that is the organization they were drafted to? See, let's look at the guys who drafted quarterbacks that were. Patrick Mahomes sat, and he was on a team that was 13-3 before he played.
Yeah, that's
okay.
crazy.
Let's look at Green Bay has had
Yep.
a starting quarterback for 40 years. Okay, he sat for 4 years.
Right.
Let's go through all these teams that have these young quarterbacks that are performing, and now we get these quarterbacks now. They get in the league. They're 22, 23 years old, and we're going to have them run our franchise and wonder why they can't beat Patrick Mahomes.
That's a good point.
You cooking right now. I ain't
Okay,
gonna lie on that. You
because
cooking.
in general, the best quarterbacks go to the worst
Go to
organizations.
the worst team.
Right, but there are-
So you already – wait, Jaden,
Okay.
what Jaden Daniels is doing is amazing. You know why? Because he's with the damn Washington Commanders.
And he's falling back to earth hard.
But that's okay. What he has done to this point with a team who we have dismissed for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
But
Well, I
We've seen
guess,
that
I guess
more
if
than
you're,
once
if you're,
in
if you're a
recent
good
years.
team and you're picking in the 20s, take quarterback. Because
Well,
that's the deal.
Right,
I mean, Mahomes
because you
went
can,
late.
You can,
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson,
See how that worked
last
for him?
pick, right?
Yeah.
The
Joe Burrows of the world, those are rare.
Rare.
When
Totally
you're
rare.
you're going to the worst team in the league, and a few years later, you're in the Super Bowl.
But no, that was 2 years later, and they haven't even sniffed it since.
We couldn't hear you,
Yeah, you
Leroy.
cut out there, you cut out.
We couldn't hear you.
I said they went his second year,
Yeah.
and they haven't sniffed it since. And because they went that one time, we were looking at Joe Burrow, and we forget to look at the damn franchise. Okay?
So they've
They're
gone
still
back
the
to
Cincinnati
who we
They're
thought
still
they
the Cincinnati Bengals.
were. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And so, see, and that's my point about all of
Well, but
this.
Joe Burrow's still
How
excellent,
long-
even though the Bengals don't have a good record.
Okay, but they're not any good.
Yeah.
I hear
So
you, but
how
that's not
do-
his fault.
How do we do that? The same thing you're saying. Oh, okay. And that's the point I was
We
making.
can go in
in general.
circles about this for another 2 hours if you want to.
We could.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million things
I'm
that
just
factor
saying,
in.
like, okay, Joe Burrow's great. He's on a team that's not winning. Like,
That's true.
And then you have another quarterback that comes in that everybody thought was going to be great. Hey, what about Lawrence down here? And
We're
Jackson?
saying a lot of the same things. I mean, like Mahomes
Yep.
is not playing well right now, yet the team's great. Okay, Burrow's
Right.
playing great. The team stinks. So
Yeah.
what is it? Is it the quarterback? Is it the defense? Is it the wide receivers? Is it the running backs? We just argued the running backs for 20 minutes, how great they are.
And
I mean, what the hell is it?
Me
It's
and Bush,
a
I'm gonna tell you
team.
right
No
now.
answers.
Me and
That's
Bush
This
is
is a
saying,
team game. You
Correct.
can't boil
Correct.
it down.
That's
But the
key.
quarterback is still the
Correct.
most important piece.
okay.
No one will argue
Of
against
course,
that.
that's it.
No one will argue
Yeah.
against that. Every single offensive
Leroy,
play
you drinking Tab?
has his
that a
hands
tab?
on the ball.
No.
What
I
is
don't
it?
drink Tab.
It's
What do you-
like a LaCroix.
Oh, hey, that's good.
I thought that was Tab.
I've been
Is
drinking
Tab
that.
still
Bubble?
around, by the way?
No, they're like,
It's called
no,
Poppy.
Oh, Poppy's good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Tab.
It's
Tab.
it's
That is like, hey,
healthier.
that goes to show you
Water.
where you are, Bull.
What?
Tab? Tab?
Wait, do they still make tab?
I don't think they make Tab
I don't even
anymore.
think they still
It just
make
shows
it.
I'm old, Leroy.
No, you know what it is? They probably call it Diet Coke now.
I don't
That's
drink
it.
Diet Coke. I drink Diet Pepsi. Leroy, last thing. This
Yes,
is the most
sir.
important. This is the most important question. There is a
Yes.
town. Dustin knows this. off the highway, off of Interstate 90 in upstate New York. It's spelled Leroy, but it's pronounced Leroy,
Leroy, yeah.
not Leroy.
Yeah.
If you had grown up and your name had been Leroy Hoard, as opposed to Leroy Hoard,
What would you have done
would
for
it
a
have been
living?
a totally different life if you were Leroy instead of Leroy, or would you still have played football?
I would have probably been white.
You had a lot more doors open.
He'd have been a.
I'm gonna pass out.
Leroy, did
I'm
you
gonna
hear,
pass out.
did you hear Bill
I'm just saying.
Belichick mention you on the Manning cast?
Oh, did he?
Yes. He mentioned you
What
on
did
the
he say?
Manning cast, which, by the way, if you're watching, and I love Joe and Troy, you're wasting your time. It is all about the Manning cast. They talked about, Bill Belichick brought you up in a story on the Manning cast. Go try to find it. Yeah, he did.
You know, I'll tell you you want to know another Bill Belichick thing? You remember when he said, I sat a guy out even though he was cleared to play because of a concussion?
Yeah.
That was me. That
Oh,
was me.
Nice.
So I knew it for a fact that
That's funny.
I went through all the protocols and whatever. He goes, you went to the hospital. I'm gonna sit you out one more week.
Well, good for him. Good for him.
Anyway, I want to tell y'all this. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, Leroy.
And I'm gonna say this. This is a public service announcement to all of my lighter skinned folks who may have, some brothers over to their house.
Mm-hmm.
Throw that damn pumpkin pie away and get them a sweet potato pie. Okay? Stop. Mess. I
both
never
ways.
had a pumpkin. I never had a pumpkin pie till I went to Michigan.
They are not
Wow.
the same.
We don't do pumpkin pie in my house.
They're
Speaking
not.
of Michigan, enjoy Saturday, my friend.
Hey, it's funny how you come at me now. Look at it. Look at the side. I see you over there. I see you over there. Hey, I'm telling you what. I'll be on this show Monday.
Oh,
If you're going to
Tuesday,
predict it, Leroy.
Oh.
Don't dance around it.
Here's what I would say.
You want the
And I've
20 and
said
a half
this-
points or what?
I've said this.
No, that's too
No. Need
No, I think they're
stinking
covering
points
20 and a
from
half.
you.
I would think they're covering
So-
23.
So here's the deal. In games like this,
I know.
you can't just dismiss it.
Hey,
I'm telling you,
John
I've
Cooper
been
was
a part
undefeated
of it.
3 times and lost
Hey.
to inferior Michigan teams.
I typically wouldn't
was-
dismiss it, but your coach stinks and your team stinks.
The coach stinks because he don't have players.
It's
Like,
funny how that
you'll
works.
try to play. Wait a minute. You'll try to run offense with those quarterbacks.
Hey, Mike
and then
Nuggets
get back
had just had a
at me.
stroke. He's been rapping
if
us
he,
for
if he
7
still had
minutes.
Connor Stallions, maybe they'd win. Who knows?
Hey, listen. Hey, Leroy.
When's Connor going into the Michigan Hall of Fame?
At one point, we had to deal with Joe Bowserman at Ohio
That's
State.
true.
So,
Facts.
They did.
Facts.
so been there.
Leroy,
All right.
happy Thanksgiving.
See
We
you,
love you,
Leroy.
brother.
Happy
We love you, man.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I'll be texting you Saturday. Look out for
All
it.
right, I know. If I don't get you first.
Yeah.